My channel is mostly about photography. This is a little tangent, but is also related. Sometimes my relationship with photography is not the healthiest, and I can get so into my gear and my photos and time on the computer in the darkroom developing that I can gain weight and I can start to feel achy, and I need an occasional plan to get me back on track. This is something that I'm currently doing. I'm almost done. It worked really well this time. I've done it in the past before. It worked really well in the past. Each time I do it, I refine it some. This is my 6-week photographer's diet. It is for me. I mostly wanted to record this for like my future self, for when I sort of get in a rut again, right? And maybe like after Halloween or Christmas, the winter, right? And I need to sort of remind myself of all the things that I have already figured out and, right, point the compass in the right direction. I am not a doctor. I am not a health expert. I do not have clients. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I have no PDFs or apps. And really, I'm just going to say, like, this is for me. You can implement it, bits and pieces, however you want, or you can just take this as entertainment. Okay. I have one day, a 1 day plan that I repeat for 6 weeks, which makes it 42 days. And then I have like a 14-day transition time at the end. Now, I had to sort of find the right time in my life to do this. I needed to kind of find like, it's not a coincidence that I did it like in the summer when the weather is better and I have a little more free time. And so there is like a timing element to kind of finding the right window to do this. I need, right, some amount of protection of my ability to repeat a daily plan. So it'd be hard to do this if I was traveling throughout the whole 6 weeks or on vacations or whatever, right? Or so picking a good amount of time, right? Basically 6 weeks is step one. Right. So what does the daily outline look like? Well, it starts off with I get up in the morning. Right. I'm a dad. I have kids. I go to work. My day starts at 8. Right. In the morning, I'm having coffee, mostly coffee, water, sometimes yerba mate, teas, maybe green tea. And I want these things to be delicious. So for me, that means, right, I'm buying specialty grade coffee. Like I like Heart coffee, and I'm preparing it well. And this is so delicious that it's going to, right, sometimes I drink beer and wine. I like buying, sort of high-end specialty level beer and wine, and right, I get into sort of the complexities of like, where those industries have gotten to, right? So I like to just, I'm not going to drink at all during the 6 weeks. And so this having some really good coffee around helps me, not feel like I'm missing out on sort of like how delicious beverages can be. I'm also taking, I don't know how to say it, basically means 3-fruit supplement. Trifala, trifala, I don't trifala. And right, it's an, you can listen to this lady about all about it, right? And or you can just come here, or again, this is for me, right? It is widely accessible, and it's to be taken on an empty stomach. I'm not totally sure that this is. I've been doing it this time. I've liked it. I don't want to go too far off on like this particular supplement, but yeah. And then 15 minutes of walking, at least, right? And maybe that's one segment, or maybe it's 5 minutes here and then 5 minutes later and then 5 minutes. But I'm at least trying to get 15 minutes of walking in the morning. Okay, notice that there's no breakfast, nothing, right? Basically, in terms of calories in, it's well under 50, close to zero for the whole morning. And then lunch between like 11:30, 2 o'clock, right? Sometime in there, sort of as it fits in my day, I'm going to have lunch. And this is going to be like 99% of my calories for the day in this like 30-minute to 1 hour window. 30 minutes before I eat, I'm going to take papaya enzyme, right? That's, let me close some windows. So papaya enzyme is going to be, there's my yerba mate. Here's my jasmine teas, my papaya enzyme. The idea of this one is like it helps you with digesting proteins. And I'm going to eat a lot of protein for my lunch. So I'm up for having that on my side here. So also it's pretty tasty. It's a little bit of a cheat to get something kind of sweet. And then I have a salad bar that I go to, makes it pretty easy. And I'm going to get mostly leafy greens and some protein. The protein, I want it to be delicious and healthy, and so, right, I go to this place where I can get turkey or ham or salmon or beef or tuna or shrimp or chicken, and I sort of just kind of buy whatever I'm in the mood for that day, and it's quite a lot, right? And then, right, again, mostly leafy greens and proteins, but then I'll have some other veggies, maybe potato salad or some pasta salad, like a kind of Mediterranean. But right, it's not super strict. There's even been days where I've had some like wedge potatoes, basically French fries, sort of just. But again, that's not the main thing I'm eating. It's just like a sprinkle here and there to keep kind of based on what I'm really craving. And then when I get home, I'm going to do extra virgin olive oil. Like 1 or 2 tablespoons, red wine vinegar, a couple teaspoons. Then a nutritional yeast, I think, is actually a really important part. So that's going to be this one, right? I like to, just sprinkle until I've basically covered the top of my salad with this nutritional yeast, which is right, packed full of B vitamins. And let's see here, where did I go? So that one's key. And then some sea salt and some pepper. And the salt is actually important, right? This is I like Redmond's sea salt. And then it's pretty critical when you do I do a diet like this, that I'm taking enough salt, right? One place I've got myself into trouble with this type of diet before is not having enough salt, maybe drinking too much water, and my electrolytes do get low, and I'll start to get something called like the keto flu, or some headaches or some dizziness, right? And it's my salt intake needs to go up. So, right, I'm definitely sprinkling on some salt, It doesn't really taste like a salty salad, right? It's not like I'm doing that much. And then small amounts of like berries and blueberries and fresh berries and some nuts if I'm craving some nuts, right? Maybe a handful, not a ton, right? Again, these are supplementary to the protein in the leafy greens. And I'm just gonna eat until I'm full, right? I'm not stuffed. I'm not blowing myself up. I'm not gorging, but I'm definitely not holding back any. I eat until I'm full. And then for sort of later on in the 6 weeks, sort of like the halfway point, I started, having some cravings for something like a dessert. And so I've done like half an ounce of dark chocolate at the end of my meal. And then I have sort of like, I think twice, like I went off this and just kind of like I got a hamburger one day and fries. And then another day I got, I was out by the coast. And so I got some seafood and clam chowder and things. And so it is more of like the one meal here is more important than exactly what it is. So if I have to budge, right, I do it, right? If I have to go on a trip or a business thing and I just can't have my dream salad, right? Then I'll just, whatever. I'll just eat what I have to eat. And it doesn't weigh that heavy on me. And then my final supplement is like a vitamin D K2, right? I'm taking either 5,000 or 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. And whatever else I need to take on a daily basis, right? If I'm taking a medication or some other supplement I want to try, right? And then immediately after I eat, I'm going to go for a walk, 20 plus minutes. And, right, this is really to aid my digestion, to protect myself from sort of that post-meal drain, right? It's important to me that I'm able to be very productive through my whole workday. And this just is sort of like really evens out my digestion and my response to the meal. And then if I come home and if I'm thirsty, I might not be immediately thirsty, but sort of once I notice that I'm thirsty, I'm going to have a drink that's both like an electrolyte drink, but also is going to help my digestion. And so that is, it's a popular drink online known as like a keto drink, but it's like, it's apple cider vinegar with, so for me, it's 1 to 2 tablespoons in a glass, like a big glass, right? I'll fill, 3/4 the way with water, and then I'll add 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon of cream of tartar, which is basically potassium, right? Half a teaspoon of the sea salt, and then I'll do a quarter of either a lime or a lemon. I like lime better, but lemon's fine too. Oh, and then I just, and then ice, right? Lots of ice. It makes it a very refreshing, almost tastes like a margarita. Like it's not quite like a sweet margarita, but more like a salty, acidic margarita. So that's delicious. It also helps with digestion. And then just for the rest of the day, it's water, it's maybe some more coffee, it's tea, right? And if it's later, I move over to herbal teas. With one of my favorites is like a cinnamon apple spice herbal tea, and that cinnamon is nice later in the day. All right, and that's going to help me, sort of like, this isn't really like I can't have anything, right? Maybe other people are having wine or beer or dinner or dessert, and I can be there with some tea, right? Then sometime between, right? This is now like between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. I'm gonna find another chance to do 30 plus minutes of exercise, at the very least, just walking, right? And so, right, for me this time that unpacked as, right, and again, like, I'll say that the diet and the eating leads here, and sort of as I start to feel better, sorry, I'm saying you, future me, right? As I start to feel better, then I'll say, okay, well, right, my interest in more physical activity, right, it grows, and then I'll act on that. But I don't, right? I don't have like a super heavy exercise routine plan out of the gate. I let the diet and feeling good lead the way. So for me, like week 1, it was walking, light resistance training, and stretching. Lots of stretching because I was super stiff. Week 2 was moderate resistance training and walking. Week 3 to 4 was walking and hiking and resistance training and light biking, very light biking. Then weeks 5 and 6, right, more walking and hiking and resistance training. And I even started to bring in some high intensity interval training, sprinting. So I found a track and was doing some, I'd walk a lap, run 100 meters, walk a lap, run 100 meters, walk a lap, run 100 meters. And the first time I did it, I felt so bad. I felt tight. I felt awkward. I felt terrible. And then you take 3-4 days off. I took 4 days off and I went again. And I felt so much better the second time I did it, right? Just sort of kind of an every 4-day cadence, right? That anaerobic activity has a lot of benefit. Right, just do like I've been doing like a total of 6 sprints and 1.5 miles of walking, right? So it doesn't take that crazy long. And I let my first sprint or 2 be like the warm up. And then I try to go to bed as soon as possible. Like a lot of respect for sleep being very important and recovery being very important. And yeah. And then I'm going to ride the wave of benefits. I'll start with like food tastes really good, right? It's like and if it doesn't, I don't eat it, right? It's like, I'm spending maybe some more money on some supplements, and the kind of the quality of my food is raising the price and whatever, but the return is so high on this. And there's also like I'm not eating 2 other meals, right? And when I do eat, I'm hungry, and it's like coming out of the woods. Things are really delicious. And then if something doesn't taste delicious, I'm like, well, I'm not going to waste my time on this. Like I'm going to eat something that's delicious. And so that's great. Less energy fluctuations, especially just kind of through my workday. I've found my whole workday to be much more productive. And my mornings and nights, especially my nights, I'm more productive. I'm more in the mood to stay active later in the day. More energy overall. Mental clarity is way up. Definitely like at work, I'm just solving problems much faster. I feel lighter, more athletic. I have a growing interest in exercise. Like some of these things I've said of biking and running, these are things I haven't done in so long. And because I start to feel tight and heavy and gross, where I don't want to do these things. And so, right, my interest in doing these things with my kids is way up. Aches and tightness is greatly reduced. Mood and confidence are up. Fat loss, right? I'm not on the scale every day. I'm going to guess that through this I've lost somewhere between 20 and 35 pounds in the 6 weeks. And dropped probably 2 to 4 inches off my waistline. And then more endurance, right? I'm finding that these walks, like I'm feeling, just they're easier, they're more fun. Right, and it's other people who are having to slow down that I'm slowing down for other people, other than the opposite. Right, the challenges here, the first 2 to 3 days, right? I'm giving up some things that I'm basically addicted to, like beer and wine and desserts and 3 meals a day and snacking and right, it's really hard just to get through the first 2 to 3 days of that. That's the biggest hurdle. It takes quite a bit of. I have to find quite a bit of motivation to be able to say no to these things, but also like that knowledge that after the 2 to 3 day mark, it gets like way easier. right? That knowledge does make it easier to push through the first 2 to 3 days. And sort of that pushing through the hunger, right? It's like hunger does go away. It might last 10 minutes, worst case scenario, like 60 to 90 minutes, but it does go away. Sometimes when at nighttime I feel the hunger come and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be hungry for like forever unless I eat. It's like, no, I just feel the hunger. I'm going to be hungry and it's actually going to go away. And then actually when it goes away, I'm probably going to feel really good. So using those types of mental tricks to navigate the first 2 to 3 days. And then right back to this wave of benefits, those start kicking in really fast. So trying to tune in to these things happening, because that becomes good motivation. The irritability's been the one thing that I've struggled with a little bit on this time around. Right when I'm hungry and it's been 24 hours since I've really eaten, and there's something irritating in my environment, right? I feel very irritated, and it also gets like, well, if it's an irritating thing, isn't it right for me to feel irritated? And maybe my normal mode of existence like accepts too much irritating things in them, but really it's like that much irritation can make this whole thing unpleasant and can make me unpleasant to other people. So right, I have to be careful not to try to go too far past my 20, 22, 24 hours, because each extra hour I go, like I double the chances I'm going to be irritable. And then there's also just been this temptation. And how many times have I gotten to that like pretty darn irritable point? Like 3 or 4 times, right, out of the last 5.5 weeks. And then there's always this temptation to push harder, right? It's like, I think, I sort of strive for like a very kind of nice, sustainable daily rhythm, and something I can sustain for 6 weeks. But there's always this temptation to like want to maybe exercise harder, or to maybe make that meal a little smaller, or to, what is it? Skip a day, skip a whole day, skip a whole day eating. And I've sort of every little temptation I've had that I've sort of experimented with, right? I find that it's like, I'm not quite ready for it. And, right. And my wave of benefits has been, so good, and it's continuing, that really it's like back off of that temptation to push harder. Some couple other little tidbits is, before I started this, I had really bad acid reflux that I'd had for like a year. Right. It was really, at the point of like requiring medical intervention. And that was part of the impetus for jumping into this. And sort of what I had to figure out and play around with was like in that morning when I may be just waking, my body's expecting breakfast, and I'm also drinking coffee. Right, I might need a couple of Tums. And but when it comes time to eating, right, like I need to get my digestion in full speed. And so I don't want Tums, right? I want to eat it. I want to have maybe some apple cider vinegar before or after the meal as part of that drink. I want to walk. I want things that are going to help digestion. And then later in the night, again, I've missed dinner. It's almost bedtime. I'm maybe having some drinks again. My stomach's starting to empty some, right? If I'm having any reflux symptoms, right, take a couple of Tums. And I did that through the first 3-4 weeks, and I could tell that I was actually starting to heal. And so I've started taking, like, I still have Tums on hand in case I need to, but right, and I'm following that same line of thinking, and I've made a lot of progress. I have way less reflux issues. And then lastly is like after the 6 weeks, and I'm still kind of figuring this out, and I have not perfected it, but that transition can be, I have failed at sort of like just go right back to what I was doing beforehand, right? And this time I'm going to go with a right, a 14-day transition period where instead of doing what's essentially this diet is like an OMAD, 1 meal a day, which is O for MAD, except it's really one MAD and 1 meal a day, not 0 meals a day, but one OMAD, 1 meal a day. And I'm going to transition to 2 smaller meals. So instead of kind of the one big, I'm going to do probably a dinner so I can eat dinner again with my family. And I'm going to have some business trips where dinner is going to be a thing. So, right, just having 2 meals a day and to get the size of those meals down quite a bit from what has been my 1 meal. But still staying with basically the same types of food choices, right? I'm not gonna bring back a lot of the unhealthy foods that I was eating a lot of before I started this. So, Daniel, this is for you and for when you need it next time. And if you're not me, maybe there's some nugget in here that you can borrow. Right. Take care.